there, Summit County. It's Dave Rossi, and I am really excited to have a great show for you today. I think we might call it the Phil Gonshak show. But I am with a surprise guest that's with us, but I'm with Phil Gonshak, who is our new Interim County Manager. Phil, say hello.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here, and thank you, Dave, for hosting this wonderful affair.
You bet. And we are also at the high school today, so we have Maile Gonshak, who is Phil's daughter. Say hello.
Hi, Maile.
So we're going to just jump right into it. So Phil's just here to listen because I'm really here to interview Maile. I'd like to know what it is like to manage your father.
Well, back in California, I mean, he had such a busy job that it was always consistently like, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? And it's, he's always a busy man. He's a very hardworking person. I feel like every time I walk in the living room, he's on his phone answering emails. But he's a really good father, and he works so hard for the family, and all he does is try and make us happy. And so knowing that California honestly wasn't my favorite place in the world, he was working really hard to get this job because he knew I wanted to come out here so badly. My sister, who goes to CU Boulder, actually, we're a very good relationship, and I really want to spend time with her as much as possible. And he made that happen when he got the job. So I'm really happy to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, it's good to have you. And you have class when?
I have class in like 20 minutes.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, it's great. Do you have any questions for the county that we can answer for you? Any trivia?
Ooh, good trivia.
Any trivia? When was the town created?
That was 1859, town of Breckenridge.
Oh, wow, actually?
Yeah, believe it or not, I just pulled that
Wow,
one.
look at you.
Yeah.
That's
yep.
insane.
That's impressive.
1859, and that was before Colorado was a state. Colorado became a state in 1876. That's why we're called the Centennial State.
Wow.
So there you go.
I didn't know there was that much history behind it.
Yeah, and Summit County was established in 1861, and now, just a few years later, here I am with my boss. So this is awesome. Thanks for coming today.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Summit County, we're back. It's Dave Rossi. I am here with Interim County Manager Phil Gonshak.
Thanks, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming. So, Phil, we have had you here for 2 weeks now.
Yes.
And you're still around. And you found your way, around the courthouse, found your way around Summit County. How's it going?
Things are going really well. I will tell you that surprisingly, you walk into any institution or any organization as a brand new person and you think, okay, this should be relatively easy or difficult. And the move has been relatively easy. And I can't thank the three commissioners, Pogue, Blanchard, and Lawrence, enough for their hospitality. And then more importantly, or not more importantly, but just as important, the staff's welcoming and the community's welcoming of me and my family as well. And we're extremely grateful and happy to be here.
That's great. And everybody got to meet one of Phil's two daughters, which was a great treat for all of us. Yes. Seems like the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
She's a charmer.
Yeah, that's great. So we've got 33 departments, and you've probably been around all of them. Is there anyone that is your favorite? And if so, why is it communications?
I wouldn't say that one is my favorite. They are all very, very important and critical in the role of Summit County. And I don't mean to give a political answer, but I will tell you, I am very interested in trash. This is probably one of the newest concepts that I've never understood due to my background in municipalities and just never having experience in that realm or in that world. And so, just a meeting this morning with the managers, mayors, and commissioners in the town of Dillon, and just listening, right? That's all I can really do as it relates to trash, because I know nothing about it. But what I think is really important for Summit County as it evolves in a number of different elements, right? Sustainability, equity, and climate control, and all this really interesting stuff that even bleeds into the restaurant business is really fascinating to me. And I'll tell you that Aaron, who runs our scrap, is extremely generous in offering as much of information as he possibly can. So I'm really happy to dive in, as climate is one of my things that I'm very, very interested in. So.
Yeah, Aaron is fantastic, and the scrap is a vital component to us. So as we move into the next version of recycling and landfill management, it's going to be an interesting policy decision for the commissioners coming up.
Absolutely.
So you've come to us from Seal Beach, California.
Yes.
And we like Californians here, so nothing in the comments.
I don't know. I was listening into the Peak 7 comments last night, and I think one of the comments was, "We just get rid of all the Californians, everything will be fine." So.
Okay. Well, we'll make an exception for you. I think the commissioners will, put a resolution out there. You were in law enforcement. You were the chief of police for Seal Beach.
Correct.
So we have, interestingly enough, a chief of police who's managing the town of Breckenridge, Rick Holman.
Yes.
And his deputy was also chief of police. This seems to be an interesting pattern.
It does.
Explain to me how, where you go from law enforcement, it's a leadership position, but then into government administration. It feels like the other chiefs in Breckenridge are doing a fine job and very well liked. So, tell me about making that transition, like how you came to that.
It's probably one of the hardest things in my life that I made a decision to do. But what I will tell you, along with that hardest decision of leaving that profession and joining a new profession, is it was a progression of events for me. I will tell you that when I started my career in law enforcement, municipal law enforcement, 23 years ago, my initial goal was to be the chief of police at some point in time. But what I wanted to do was do it the right way, right? Like not playing the politics and not trying to, step on people's backs to get to the top. I really wanted to enjoy my career as being a police officer first, and then move up through the ladder in the ranks of being a chief of police. Along that way, I was approached actually by my city manager at the time in the city of Seal Beach to assist with the public administration program at California State University of Long Beach. And so what had happened was I had joined Cal State Long Beach as an adjunct faculty member and professor there, and started to really invest myself into the learning behind the scenes of what public administration was beyond just criminal justice in the law enforcement field. And the more I understood about public administration, I feel the better I got at becoming a chief of police to run an organization. The nice part about being a chief of police is you get some of the most phenomenal, renowned leadership training in the entire world.
Yeah.
In 2015, I went to what's called the FBI National Academy, and that's a consortium of, at that time, there were 207 law enforcement executives throughout the entire world. So we had people there from Ireland, we had people there from Poland, we had people there from Mexico, you name it. And in that consortium, you're treated for 10 weeks in Quantico, Virginia, as basically a law enforcement executive, and you get some of the most amazing training there. And so primarily that training in leadership helps you develop into becoming a professional in the public administration field, not necessarily just law enforcement. And so that, combined with my city manager, Jill Ingram, who I have to give her a shout out, kind of helped me develop this role of becoming a city manager or county manager someday. And then this opportunity presented itself as a result of actually some connections and friends over at the Harvard Executive School for Kennedy. And basically we had taken a class about I think it's called Senior Executives in Local Government. And in that class, amazingly, there were 74 of us in Boston at Harvard for 3 weeks. And there were, out of those 70 people, 10 of them, or 74 people, 10 of them were from the state of Colorado. This was literally back in June, and I have a daughter at CU Boulder who just went back in August, and then my daughter, who you all met, terribly missed her sister, Madeline. And so this opportunity presented itself. A couple of the commissioners literally, had been trying to find me jobs in the state of Colorado, and this one was forwarded to me, and I just put in, and it's been a wild ride ever since. I mean, I don't mean to keep talking, but it was literally the outsider coming into this new environment and trying a new skill and develop into that role of becoming a county manager like I always wanted to do. And here I am. So I think
You are.
to follow up or dovetail on that, you talked about Rick and his staff and his assistant county manager also being in law enforcement. I think that's just a transition that seems to be natural over time. And what I'm learning now is it's not just police chiefs, but even fire chiefs. The Idaho Springs city manager is actually a retired fire chief that went to the Harvard School with me as well. So there's just a national kind of push for it, and maybe that is the next step for us that are in law enforcement.
Okay, so would communications go to law enforcement? I don't know.
Whatever you want.
Okay, all right, I'm going to put that on my bucket list, I think. So in the past few weeks, you guys had just a whirlwind, and you've come in at a time where housing is a big issue in the community. The commissioners have given all of us the marching orders that is really solving housing is at the nexus of livability and affordability and the economy and being able to serve our guests in this community. Yes. How does your first couple weeks, involve housing, and what's kind of on your priority list in that realm, and then maybe in a general sense?
Right now, I will tell you that probably housing is at the forefront of all of our minds at Summit County government. And I wouldn't just say in the Board of County Commissioners' mind, but more importantly, staff as well. We have to realize, and coming into this as the interim county manager, I'm looking at staffing right now, and I'm seeing holes where we need to fill them. And more importantly, how do we recruit people to come to Summit County to work? And the number one way to recruit them is to provide affordable housing for them to live in. And like they say in the old times, if you build it, they will come. And I feel like when I looked at Summit County over the last 3 or 4 months that we were in this process, we are very forward in this approach of trying to find affordable housing that the county can purchase to provide our employees to have a good living. Yeah. And I'll tell you, they just did a pay raise on a number of different salary increases in their staffing. And so you couple that with the affordability of living in a rental unit or a space or a small space or townhome that the county owns, and then provide them with quality affordability in their price of their paycheck. It's kind of a good coupling for providing employees the ability to work in our county. And I think that is our main goal right now. Right. And it's an important one. And I think that we're kind of setting the trend along with a number of different municipalities and counties in the state of Colorado to move towards that affordability housing piece for our workforce.
Great. So when we talk about housing and we connect to, you mentioned staffing as an issue. That's also finding employees is a challenge for every business, definitely for Summit County, for the other municipalities, and it is. County has been on the leading edge of ensuring that workers are paid as much as possible to be able to afford to live here. What other priorities are you seeing in the near term for the next, say, 3-6 months beyond that?
I will tell you that our priority right now is to kind of redevelop Summit County government. I really want to focus on 3 particular items. Number 1 is customer service. Some of the things I'm hearing are like, oh, if you work for the county, then your customer service must be poor. I'm not sure that is the truth at all in any county for that matter, as everybody I've experienced in Summit County is really trying their darndest to get forward and be approachable and be respectful to the community that we work for every single day. And I will tell you that every single employee that I've met is trying to get there. What we can do are just some simple things like opening our doors a little bit more, maybe spreading out the ability for our employees to interact with the community, I think is important for us. So building that customer service element into the county needs to be a first priority. Secondly, one of the things that we're really looking at is diversity, equity, and inclusion, the DEI factor. We'll be working with a third-party consultant firm to try and figure out what does that look like. We're also going to bring in a special projects coordinator, starting actually hopefully in the first couple of weeks of January, that'll help me and the rest of our staff look at diversity, equity, inclusion, and what does that look like for Summit County, and not just putting a title of what's important in that DEI element, but really implementing some feasible steps for us to move forward into that space. Lastly, one of the things that's really difficult for me to come in and look at Summit County is that I guess there were a number of employees that had been here for decades. And what happens with that is that you're not really staying with the times of succession planning. And succession planning is huge for any organization, so we're really trying to find out, okay, in the next 3 to 6 months, one of my specialties at Cal State Long Beach, actually was one of my thesis papers, was succession planning, manager development, so that our employees have kind of this ladder of what does it look like and what do I need to do to become, whatever it is, communications director, especial, or, county manager someday. Sure. And it's not just going out and getting your education, getting your bachelor's degree or your master's degree. Mm-hmm. It's attending, the Harvard Executive Leadership School. It's going to city council meetings, going to BOCC work sessions, understanding the behind the scenes elements of it, and really diving in, and then having us as staff that are already in it, tomorrow finding our new replacements for us to fill us whenever we do leave, whether it's for another opportunity, whether it's for retirement, or whether it's just to make sure that they're on pace to become the next successful person in the community.
That's fantastic. It sounds like you've got a lot ahead of you for the next 6 months. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk to Phil about some of the lighter things that he's experienced since he's come to Summit County. Thanks.
Looking forward to it.